Hey everyone, welcome to week 6, the final installment of the Regifting series. I hope that you had a great time with your group. Just because the series is over doesn't mean that your time with your group is over. It's just we're wrapping up, we're closing the chapter on this particular series. Now this has been our big goal, to see the truth, beauty, and goodness of Jesus, to really understand Him, to better view Him so that we can be like Him. After all, we are the wrapping paper that people have to get through to get to Jesus. This is our goal, that an encounter with us, an experience with us, that when we talk with people, when we engage with people, that they catch a glimpse of what Jesus is like, that we would be the kind of people that God is able to use, that God is happy to use to point people to the gospel, to point people to Jesus Christ. So we've looked at a number of things throughout this week, throughout this series, and you may just want to, this week, as you sit down with your group, as you circle up, kind of reflect on what the journey has been like for you. What are the things that have challenged you? What are the things that have encouraged you? What are the things that you're really focusing in on? And this last week, we're focusing on our final way to be wrapped up, and that is embracing weakness. Instead of looking at a scene from Jesus' life, we looked at a really important scene from the life of the Apostle Paul when he was challenged by fake apostles who were false teachers who were creating havoc in the church that he planted, and people were starting to give their allegiance to those guys and trust them more and be impressed with them more than they were with the Apostle Paul. He didn't come in and posture, and he didn't make demands. He actually engaged with shocking, stunning weakness. He didn't brag about how awesome he was, and he probably could have. But he just acknowledged, he lived his life in a very unguarded way and said, listen, I am weak and I am limited, and it's in the context of my weakness that Jesus' strength shines brightest. My goal is not to get you guys to be about me, but to point you guys to Jesus. And I find that to be amazing. And so one of the questions that we asked you in the message was this: do you ever find yourself tempted to or wanting to present an enhanced version of yourself? I would imagine that that's a temptation, that's a desire that we can all relate to. But somehow, some way, the Apostle Paul simply rejected that. I don't need you guys to see me as greater. I need you to see how great Jesus is. And we get to do that, and we get to participate in that when we decide, you know what, I'm going to trust the truth of the gospel. I'm totally accepted based on what Jesus did, not what I do. I'm weak. I'm limited. I'm foolish. I'm frail. I'm not as smart as I want to be. I'm not the example Jesus is. I'm not the greatest Jesus is. I am weak, and He is strong. Now that cuts against the grain of what comes naturally to us, doesn't it? I grew up on movies like this, The Karate Kid. I don't know if you're ever a fan of The Karate Kid, but this is the basic premise of that movie, of basically every teenage movie in the 80s, maybe all kinds of movies, and it's this: when you are in a disadvantaged position and there are people above you and they're oppressing you and they're bullying you, you got to make yourself stronger so you can turn the tables on them. That's the world's way. And that's even kind of a religious approach. It's just not the gospel. The gospel is this: that Jesus embraced weakness so that we could be made strong in Him. In the message, I asked this question: are there ever times, because you don't want to look weak, you don't want to look foolish, you don't want to look inadequate, that you hold back? And we listed a bunch of things, and I listed more things more quickly than you had time to probably process or even write down. They're all included in the digital notes that you can find on our website. Just go to the sermon page, click on the outline, and you can see all of those. I would encourage you as a group, add that to your discussion. Are there times that you ever find yourself holding back because you don't want to look foolish, you don't want to look weak, you don't want to look inadequate? If that is the case, you know what it is? It's we're placing our confidence in something other than Jesus. We're putting our hope in something other than Jesus. It's because we need to be seen as strong. We need to be seen as good enough. We need to be seen as great, instead of delighting in our life being a context and the canvas in which Jesus can demonstrate His greatness for others to see. So I'm going to invite you to lean in. I'm going to invite you to go shields down, to not be like a locked up safe, but to be an open book, and to share with your group, to encourage each other, and to walk together in this beautiful journey of Christ-likeness. And when we do that, we are the wrapping paper that as people work their way through, they will see what Jesus is like. I appreciate you joining us on this journey as we try to grow to be more like Jesus. Again, have a great conversation, and I'll see you for our next series.